So around this time 2 years ago, I started uploading wrestling content to this channel. I wanted to make this channel a space where I could just kind of vent my current thoughts on the wrestling product and just put my opinion out there into the ether like all the other wrestling YouTubers. And I was uploading pretty consistently for a while. Granted, there was a lot to talk about 2 years ago than there is now. 2 years ago, WWE was still in their, the phase that they're kind of getting out of now, where they really started to catch fire and really started to put out really good content. And at the time, AEW was just kind of starting its downward spiral from going to a respectable wrestling promotion to becoming the kind of dumpster fire that it is right now. But yeah, these days though, and the reason why I stopped uploading as consistently as I was is because more and more over this last year and this year, it just seems like there's less and less to talk about in the world of wrestling. And I think the reason for that kind of all boils down to one thing, which is predictability. There's just at this point with WWE and AEW, I've kind of come to expect, the things from them that I know they're going to bring, which in the case of WWE is very, very sensible, but at the same time very monotonous and very just flat out boring booking. I think this year's card for WrestleMania is a prime example for that with Jey Uso and Gunther and Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. And I'm right now we have Io versus Bianca, which was kind of unexpected, but they're going to add Rhea to the mix. They've been cramming Rhea down our throats for like a year, over a year now at this point, so they got to add her in there. On the other side of the fence, we have AEW, which, as I said, has been spiraling down for a while now. They've downgraded to smaller venues. The TV viewership is dwindling, so on and so forth. So, it's kind of at this point, it's pretty predictable that AEW, they don't want to seem to change their ways, so they're just probably just going to keep going down and down until eventually maybe they don't even exist anymore. But I will say one thing to the credit of AEW, I give them a point for this. And even though this thing that they do is probably, a very big part of why they're experiencing the downturn that they are, one thing I will say is that they're not afraid to give us new things. WWE is no problem with just cramming the same things down our throat every week, but at least AEW tries new things like the Death Rider storyline. It's a big clusterfuck and it's a flop, but at least it's something different. I mean, you're definitely not going to see something like, I guess you could say, kind of a skinheadish, kind of neo-Nazi-ish stable on WWE TV that's way too edgy for them. But, like I said, it's not good, but at least it's different. You see what I'm saying? However, at the same time, I feel like you can grasp at straws too much, like with the hotshot booking of the AEW title going from who was it on? Swerve Strickland to Bryan Danielson to now John Moxley, and the whole thing with like the Jeff Jarrett retirement angle where he's gonna win the belt before he retires, and turning MJF heel when he was supposed to come back as a babyface. It's just when you're constantly picking up things and throwing them at the wall and hope that at least one of those things will stick, and constantly changing things and always trying something new, even that within itself becomes predictable, and it's also in a way unsustainable because it becomes harder and harder for your audience to follow, and eventually they lose interest and they just don't become, because they just can't become invested in a product that's just always changing. Some things that, lit a fire in me to start uploading again was John Cena's heel turn, which a lot of people are rightfully saying was one of the greatest wrestling moments in history, maybe not just of this year, but maybe of this decade or even of this millennium. And then, of course, AEW Revolution, which I think was a great pay per view, with the exception being the very AEW like finish with, Christian turning it into a triple threat. And if you saw the pay per view, you know what I'm talking about. Typical, wild AEW booking that doesn't, it's mainly for shock value and ultimately doesn't go anywhere. But on Raw last night, we saw the same thing, except it was like the inverse of unpredictable. It was, you could see it coming from a mile away and it was boring. They had Roman Reigns come out, attack both Seth and CM Punk to build up the triple threat that we saw coming since the Royal Rumble, the triple threat match at WrestleMania between them three. And these two types of bookings, whether it be the AEW unpredictable booking or the WWE predictable, boring, monotonous booking, it's like they all have their moments. I mean, we've obviously these two companies have given us some great moments over the past year and a half, and it hasn't been all bad, but at the same time, I feel like as wrestling fans, we really only have to pick between two extremes. Either the crazy, wild product of AEW, too crazy for its own good to the point where it just becomes ridiculous, or the stale, monotonous, boring, predictable WWE product. And I feel like, as wrestling fans, that should not be what we are subjected to. We should have options, a plethora of options that give us the best of everything and don't just stick to one predictable style of booking like AEW and WWE are doing. And yeah, I understand there are other wrestling companies out there, NWA, Ring of Honor, GCW, the TNA, the list goes on and on. But when it comes to what is the most accessible and what is the most mainstream and what is the most consistent, AEW and WWE, those are the only really two wrestling products where, you don't have to go out of your way to pay for a subscription or find a website online where you can watch the shows. Like, it's all right there on TV, on the internet, it's everywhere. But I feel like the product that we get is just shit. Like, if you want good wrestling, you have to go look for it now, which sucks because I feel like the most readily available wrestling should satiate our appetites for, a good wrestling product. Yeah, but like I said, this dilemma where, the only two options we have are kind of crappy. This is the reason why I quit uploading. I kind of quit my YouTube wrestling journey before it even really started and just stopped uploading because I just overall became boring with the product, and I can't, to the few that maybe do watch me, I can't promise you that, I will be uploading content in the future or anything like that, but I just wanted to come out and vent my feelings about, the current state, and I'm sure this won't be my last video, but it may be a while before my next one, but who knows? Anyway, thank you for watching, and goodbye.